Hey guys, it's Cameron, and in this video, I wanted to talk to you about how I managed to break into Apple as an engineer at the ages of 20. Now, this is something that I wasn't actually going to make a video on, right? But because of the value behind what I'm about to mention in this video and what I'm about to say, it holds a lot of weight, and I can truly chalk it up to what has amounted to me working at Apple as an engineer at the ages of 20 in my early 20s, right? So, and this is something I wasn't originally going to make. As you can see, it's quite dark outside, right? And I normally will do the videos most likely in the day. So yeah, and I thought, you know what, this is too important for me to miss. So here's the video. I'm just going to drop all of the information about how I managed to become an Apple engineer at 20 and specific strategies that I leveraged and utilized to be able to do so. So I guess like where we start, I guess is from the story, from the start, I guess. So when I was breaking into tech, right, when I kind of officially started my tech journey, so I'm 23 now, I started my tech journey at the ages of 17, right? So at 17, I was doing A levels, and A levels is, you know, if you're not from the UK, it's essentially like your preliminaries before going off to university, US college, that kind of stuff. Now, I was studying basically, you know, all the time, right? In the days, I was studying my subjects, and in the evenings, I was studying my tech niche, right? The only thing I ever wanted in the world, and the only thing I ever really wanted truly was to break into tech, right? And to just work in tech, do cybersecurity, do a bit of coding, enjoy a nice lifestyle. Now, I didn't really have the expectation or kind of like the focus to break into big tech, break into, you know, companies like Apple, have my own penthouse apartment, six figures, that kind of stuff. That was never really on the table when I officially started, but it's just something that's kind of like nicely flourished into reality, right? But when I started out, I was 17 and also kind of 18, and I kind of categorized those 2 years between 17 and 18 of ultimately just basically learning as much as possible. As I mentioned, I was studying my subjects during the day, and then I'll come home and study stuff about the tech market, the tech industry, what companies are looking for, all of these things. And I did that for about 2 years straight, right? But that's essentially what I did. Now, I'm not going to go through my entire story. Maybe I'll do it in like another video or something. But I want to mention something very specific that I discovered in this 2 year time frame. And it was specifically when I was 17, and it was in one of my evenings, right? But essentially, I discovered what opportunity cost is. Now, what is opportunity cost? Well, when you decide to do something, you doing that thing, like even if you don't decide to do it, it's still an opportunity, right? If you decide to watch Netflix, that's an opportunity to watch Netflix. If you decide to work on your tech career, that is an opportunity to work on your tech career. Essentially, every decision that you make in life is based on an opportunity. Now, what is opportunity cost? Well, that's essentially the weighting behind taking or not taking an opportunity. And I'll give you a clear example, right? If you want to break into tech and you apply to 10 jobs, let's say, that is positive opportunity cost. And the reason why it's positive is because you're actively taking a proactive stance and action towards the goals that you want to achieve. Now, it also works the other way around. If you want to watch Netflix, opposed to applying for the 10 jobs, that is a negative opportunity cost, right? And this is something that I learned fairly early on, right? But I wish I learned it sooner, which is what, of course, prompted me to make this video, right? I wasn't originally going to make it, but then I thought to myself, you know what? If I can actually help educate someone into breaking into tech a lot more quicker, even to the top echelons, like for example, working at Apple, working in big tech, all of these things, if I can expedite that process for people by simply just sharing what I know already, then I might as well do it. So that's why I've came home. That's why it's nighttime outside. But I wanted to kind of, you know, articulate this and kind of explain it all for you so you know exactly what to do to break into tech, break into Apple, that kind of stuff. So there is a weighting on the opportunity cost. And you also need to understand specifically that every single action that you take has also a weighting to it, right? An opportunity cost to it. And there's no such thing as saying this thing doesn't necessarily interfere with this over here. Like Netflix doesn't interfere with me breaking into tech, for example. I'm taking Netflix as an example because I know, when I was like 17, 18 in this kind of period of time, I would non-stop, and I cannot even emphasize this enough, I could not stop watching Black Mirror. It was like the best thing ever to me, and so was Mr. Robot, which is like a hacking TV show. And I literally was just watching them all the time, right? And basically that's why I mentioned Netflix, because, I still watch Black Mirror to this day. It's fantastic. I love it. But I was watching it a lot more, back then. I was kind of using it, I guess, as like motivation, or like a lot of it's tech related. So I was like really interested in that kind of stuff. But that's why I chose like the Netflix example. But essentially everything that you do, every single action you take is either working for your goals that you want in the future. So breaking into tech, working on six figures, working in big tech, having the freedom and lifestyle that comes along with it, or it's working actively against you, right? To not go for those things. So I'll give you an example, right? The 10 job postings, right? You're applying for 10 positions. That is a positive opportunity cost, and it's a decision that you're making that is directly going to benefit your future, whether you get the results or not, right? You're going to learn something from the experience one way or another. Whereas if you just went for Netflix or video games, hanging out with your friends, going to the pub, whatever it may be, there's going to be a negative opportunity cost to it, as I've mentioned, but it's also going to be drawing you away from your goals. There's no such thing as choosing an action that is just like benign, right? And it's just like in the middle and there's no weighting either side. Every action that you do is directly correlated to either a positive or a negative, right? And that's what I'm going to be referring to in this video of positive opportunity costs and also negative opportunity costs. So that's what opportunity cost is, right? Now, when I discovered this, I was 17 years old. I was doing A-levels. I did them all in the day, came home. I was quite knackered. But what I decided to do, and granted, this is something that most people probably don't do, but I decided to open up my LinkedIn and scroll through some of the job postings that were there. Right? And you're probably thinking like, Cameron, you were 17. Why weren't you just playing video games like GTA or Minecraft or, Netflix, Black Mirror, right? But I decided to do this, right? Because of course, nobody is going to hand me a tech career. It's down to me. It's down to me knowing the right people to get the right help from. It's knowing the right skill sets, knowing the right knowledge, all of these things. And one of those things was opportunity cost, 100%. And at this point in time, when I was applying, I didn't think anything of it. So let me just talk about the story, and then you'll kind of understand the full picture. So I was 17, I was on LinkedIn in my evenings, probably about 8 or 9 at night. Now I thought, okay, I came across this post. It was like a job posting. It was for a company called F-Secure, right? F-Secure, if you're not familiar with the company, it's a cybersecurity consultancy company, which is my tech niche. And it's essentially like a competitor to Norton, right? If you've got Norton antivirus, it's essentially going to be the equivalent of that. It's just a different company. Now, when I applied, it was for a role of a Linux engineer. Now, if you don't really know too much about me, I work in cybersecurity, right? And I've done like software engineering, coding, that kind of stuff as well as part of my roles, but it's never been solely Linux engineering, right? And especially when I was 17. At 17, I was learning cyber stuff, learning general computer science for my A-levels, but I wasn't learning Linux kind of engineering stuff, right? Like cron jobs, scheduling tasks, like kernel kind of stuff, like all of this kind of stuff, right? But I said, you know what? I'll apply anyway, even though I can't feasibly do this, right? I was 17, I was barely of legal working age, I was in full-time education, I had no Linux engineering experience, and I applied out on a whim, right? So everything was working against me. I still decided to apply anyway. A few days went by, didn't hear anything. I was like, okay. I wasn't even thinking like, okay, I haven't heard anything. I genuinely just completely forgot about me even applying. A few days after that delay, I then got an email. And the email was like, congratulations, we want to progress you and fast track you to the first stage interview for this Linux engineering role at F-Secure that you applied for. And I was like, oh, fantastic. Okay, great. Brilliant. Okay, well, what am I supposed to do now? Because I applied for a Linux engineering role, and now I've got an interview for it, and I don't really know anything about Linux engineering. I knew Linux, but not like the engineering side of stuff. So I did the interview. The questions, like the guy was very polite, he was very kind, He asked me like questions, and I was answering from like a different perspective. I was answering from a cybersecurity perspective opposed to a Linux engineering perspective. Now, in terms of doing this, right, like I think the interview went decent, I guess. Like I can kind of still remember it a bit, even though it's been, I hate to think, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. It's been 7 years. That's crazy. Wow. Anyway, so yeah, essentially I was answering with these cybersecurity perspectives for the questions that he was asking me. Interview ended, a few days went by, I then get an email, right? And it wasn't a congratulations email and it wasn't a rejection email. It was something in between, and this was something that was very useful. But essentially, they're like, we don't think you're going to be a great fit for this Linux engineering role, but we do actually have cybersecurity internships opening up in June. And we think that, and I think that you would be a good kind of candidate for this, right? So would you like me to put you forward as a referral for this and fast track you for an interview? And I literally was like, because I lost an opportunity of the Linux engineering, but an even better opportunity, more closely aligned to what I wanted to do, came along. So I said yes, I did the interviews, I then got the offer, right? And that was my first cybersecurity internship at the ages of 18. And I started a year prior to that when I basically just turned 17 in basically just learning everything under the sun to ultimately get that, right? And looping this back to opportunity cost. If I wasn't on LinkedIn, in that evening, right, at that specific right time, looking at the jobs tab, right, looking through them, finding this and then deciding to apply, that gave me positive opportunity cost because I capitalized on an opportunity that was there right in front of me to ultimately move forward towards my goal, right, and progress towards my goal. I could have done exactly what I probably wanted to do at the time, which is sit down, play GTA, Minecraft, Black Mirror, watch Netflix, whatever, right? I could have done any of that, but that would have been a negative opportunity cost because I genuinely would not have seen that position open, right? And I would have missed the opportunity. And that's a key part about opportunities that I also wanted to mention, right? And this is something that's very valuable to know. But the opportunities that you're going to get, they're not going to have massive neon signs saying, apply here for 100% success rate and offer rate and all of this kind of stuff. Like massive neon flashing signs pointing to the opportunity. Because let's face it, if it did have that, you would probably call it a scam, right? You'd be like, oh, no, that's definitely a scam. I'm not going to apply to that, or I'm not going to do whatever it was for that, right? Opportunities are always quite subtle, and they're always implemented into reality, right? So you're going to see things that look quite normal, like a job posting. That looks quite normal. But actually what that job posting is an opportunity for you to actually gain the knowledge, gain the industry experience, and showcase yourself to employers to ultimately progress yourself further towards your ideal tech career. Now, this is why it's so important, right? Because if I didn't apply to that position, it would have had a cascading effect for all of the other positions that I had after it. I wouldn't have been able to do published research in university because it relied on that previous experience. That was an opportunity cost. I wouldn't have been able to break into Apple because I wouldn't have had the publication of research and I wouldn't have had the internship as well. So my skill set and my knowledge would be perhaps somewhat limited. So I may have been rejected from that. So all of these things have a cascading effect, and it's all based on the opportunity cost to see if you actually positively capitalize on the opportunities that you have at hand at any given time. Now, I'm going to tell you exactly why big tech, so FANG, Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google, but also fintech as well, so finance technology. So all of basically big tech, top of the industry in tech, everything like that. I'm going to tell you exactly why they like people who have positive opportunity costs and capitalize on action, right? And there's two parts of it, right? The first part is actually identifying the opportunities, because if you can't identify them, you can't actually take them. And then the second part is going to actually be taking action on those opportunities. So therefore, positive opportunity cost, right? Because there's no point in identifying the opportunities if you're not actually willing to take them, right? You could find like the best internship position, the best full-time position in tech, you know, your dream job, right? Dream pay, dream company, dream perks, dream benefits, dream like freedom and work-life balance. But then if you decide not to apply for it, then it was kind of wasted in identifying it in the first place, right? So that's the steps that you need to take to actually capitalize on the positive opportunity costs. Now, the reason why FANG, big tech, fintech, all of these big companies like this and sectors is because it shows what kind of personality trait and characteristics that you have inside you, right? FANG, let's just take FANG for an example, because I worked at Apple. So FANG, they like winners. They like people who are winning because it means that they can get the same results as that winner. If you have a circle full of winners and all of those winners work for you, you're going to benefit from all of them winning, right? Because of course they were working for you, which is essentially what a company is. So FANG and just kind of big tech in general, anything that's kind of like top of the industry, they absolutely love winners. Why would you not love winners if you're like a massive organization and company that can benefit from having winners? So they see people who capitalize and take advantage of opportunity costs and actually creating positive opportunity costs from them to be winners, right? They see you as a winner if you do those things. And this is something that's subconscious, right? If a company, recruiter, hiring manager, if they look at, let's say, your CV, and they see that you've done internships, you've done placement years, let's say you've done a publication of research, you've had some full-time positions as well, they can see, so let's just take Apple for example. Apple can see that you've directly applied yourself into these areas, right? And you've actively sought after and seeked that practical experience, whether that's experience or whether that's certifications, coaching, degrees, whatever it may be. They can actually see that you've invested into yourself, even if that's with your time, to ultimately get further, closer to your goals in tech. Now, they can see this, and subconsciously, it's going to be acknowledgement on their end that you've taken opportunities and you've made positive opportunity costs with them, right? So that's why they love it, because they're like, this person directly took the actions it needed to take to get them closer to their end goal. And they did that through positive opportunity costs and making sure that they are actually putting in time, effort, energy to ultimately get there. So that's why big tech and just kind of top of the industry, they absolutely love positive opportunity costs and people who actually leverage and utilize them, because it shows that you're a winner. And big tech, what do they want to do? They want to hire winners because they generate the best results for the company. And that's of course why they pay you so much money as well, right? So there's a lot of different working mechanisms here, right? And we've spoken about a lot so far, but I wanted to say about specifically kind of why the positive opportunity costs are so important to FANG, to fintech, to startups, to AI companies, right? And the reason is, and by the way, guys, like if you need help with any of this stuff, if you need help breaking into your first or next tech role, what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description, and you can actually book in a call with me, and we can discuss how I can help you further breaking into tech or excelling your existing current tech career. And we can kind of talk about stuff and see if I can ultimately help you further. But ultimately, the reason why they like these positive opportunity costs is because it shows characteristics that you have, right? I mentioned characteristics, I mentioned kind of mindset a bit earlier, but I didn't go into why. The reason why is because it shows that you acted with urgency, because opportunities are normally on like a short time frame and window that we're open for. So for example, let's take a job posting as an example. That's going to be open for about 2, maybe 3 days, right? And then it's going to be closed. So you need to actually have urgency to take that opportunity to turn it into a positive opportunity cost, right? So that's urgency, and companies love that because it means you can get stuff done as and when it's needed to be done. It's also going to be that you've applied your work, right? You've applied your work ethic to something and it's paid off. And you've tried your absolute best in terms of getting that, right? If you kind of have like a casual approach to breaking into tech, to be completely honest, you probably won't break into tech anytime soon, because you do genuinely need to actually be applying yourself in various different areas to ultimately get that, right? And it also means learning as well. You've actively sought after an opportunity that you've then gotten, which can help you learn more, right? And that is something that's very important, because tech is all about learning. You're going to have new tools, new technologies, new softwares, all of these things, right? New processes. You're going to need to understand those and actually learn them. And if you're investing into the opportunities to ultimately learn more, then it means that you have that positive characteristic trait that they're after. So top of the industry and just kind of any kind of companies this works for as well. It's not just kind of big tech, it's not just FANG, but they look for positive opportunity costs, so opportunities that you've actively sought after and secured and acquired, based on subconsciously understanding that you have urgency, you've applied your work ethic, and you are actively seeking to learn more. And those things, they are very in demand, right, to work in tech. If you can kind of exert these attributes that you have, whether that's on your CV, whether that's in interviews, it's ultimately going to help you stand out above all of the other candidates and competition out there, because you're going to be different. You're going to be solely different, and you're not going to be the same as every other candidate. And that's something that's very important, right? And this is the specific value that I wanted to share in this video, right? Because without knowing this, you're probably going to be missing a whole bunch of opportunities. The ones that you do somewhat identify, you're not going to be taking. You're going to be missing out on future opportunities on top of that as well, that are based on the previous ones that you also missed. And you also know exactly what to kind of exert as attributes and characteristics that you have based on urgency, hard work ethic, and learning in your CV, in interviews, and things like that. So this is ultimately going to give you an edge against competition and the market to ultimately stand out further, right? And this is going to help you boost yourself above all of the other candidates in the industry. And that's, of course, the whole aim of the game, right? To be the top candidate that is chosen, opposed to all of the others out there, right? So that's what I wanted to share in this video. I wanted to share this value, and feel free to check out the description if you want more help with this and knowing exactly how to break into tech a bit more further and some additional help from me. But that's pretty much everything for this video, so I will see you in the next video.